Well, if you're a sweaty, smelly mess, then you're going to love this video because we're going to talk about some possible causes for excessive sweating or body odor. Here we go.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So over on our Avoid These Supplements at Night video, Nina D something or other asked, please enlighten us about body odor and sweating. Are these related to bad liver? And Nina, I don't know you or your situation, so I can't say what's going on with you. I'm not giving you any medical advice for sure. I'm not a doctor, but I want to kind of share some possible causes for excessive sweating or body odor that a lot of people don't really talk about. A lot of people want to talk about, oh, it's going to be a glandular issue and you're really broken and it's just a genetic kind of situation. And these are certainly possible, but I want to talk about some other possibilities that may be going on with some people. And it's really going to vary from person to person. But you do hear a lot about, oh, well, excessive sweating is often about this sympathetic nervous system malfunction, or maybe a person is just having an issue with the sympathetic nervous system. And this is our fight or flight state of this autonomic nervous system that kind of runs a lot of the show behind the curtains. We don't have to think about our heart beating. It just kind of does that. So this nervous system handles a lot of stuff for us. And the sympathetic state is the fight or flight state that we go into when there's an urgent situation going on. We got to run from a lion, so the body kind of changes how it operates. But a lot of people today can get kind of stuck in this sympathetic fight or flight state all the time, either because they're dealing with a lot of stress in their life and it's just pushing them into that stress state all the time, or it could be that their body is really stressed. But this mechanism or malfunction of a person kind of being stuck in that state all the time seems to have the ability to cause some excessive sweating issues for some people. And this is not a diagnostic thing, but it's kind of a fun thing that you could do at home, is you can just look at your blood pressure. And if you look at that systolic number, which is the top number, and then you subtract the diastolic number, the resultant of that is what we call a pulse pressure. And if you look at that pulse pressure and that number is greater than 46, then that can be a sign that a person is leaning a little bit too far on that sympathetic side, and that may be a contributing factor with the excessive sweating that you're dealing with. And if you want to take that a step further, you could also relax and count how many times you inhale in a 60-second period. Just set like a little 60-second timer and count how many times you inhale. And then you can divide that number into that pulse pressure. And if the resultant of that formula is greater than 3, that can also be a sign that a person is leaning too far on that sympathetic side. But another thing to think about with sweating is that the body seems to have the ability to get rid of some stuff that it doesn't want in the body through the pores in our skin when we sweat. And some people will say, oh, the body doesn't remove toxins or junk through the skin. It does that through the liver and the kidneys. And this is absolutely true. But the problem is, for a lot of people, the liver is not functioning correctly, and maybe the kidneys aren't either, or maybe just the kidneys are overwhelmed because they're being asked to get rid of this junk that the liver was supposed to remove. So when that's the case, the body has backup methodologies that it can use to kind of get rid of some junk. And one of those seems to be that it can push junk out through the skin. And I'll put a link to a paper in the description below this video that talks about how even some medications can get pushed out through the skin. And so when we're seeing the body push that out, we know that it can push things that it's viewing as synthetic or toxin or foreign, or just that it doesn't want in the system. And so when we're looking at sweating, if a person is really toxic and they're not getting rid of junk the way that they should, the body's going to need to find another way to get rid of it. And if it's pushing it out through the skin, sure, that can make, the body, I got to get this out of here. I'm going to sweat more to get this stuff out of here. And that could increase the level at which a person is sweating. And when we're looking at odor, this is also very similar. You know, we hear a lot about, if you eat like garlic or onions or broccoli, you can smell just from those foods that you ate. That stuff leaving through the skin can make you smell. So if that's the case, we need to use some common sense and understand that the body could do that with other stuff as well. So if we look at these are smelly foods, so these are going to make us smell. So we need to think about, well, what else could make the body want to push smelly stuff out through the skin? And one thing to think about is that if you put a bunch of food in your garbage can outside and just let it sit there for a few days and let it just rot and ferment, then you'd open up the lid and you'd be like, oh man, that really smells really bad. But a lot of people are not making enough stomach acid to correctly digest their food. That stomach acid helps us break that food down so that we can get the nutrients out of that food. But when someone isn't making enough stomach acid, that food has to break down by process of rotting and fermenting. So if a person has all this toxic junk in their digestive tract because they don't have the ability to break that food down properly, then that can create a lot of extra gases and toxins and all this junk that might need to find its way out of the body. We also hear a lot about people dealing with issues like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or other bacterial issues in the stomach or other places where things have gone awry and there's all these bad guys in there. And these bad guys are living organisms and they all have waste. So if you have 1 million people pooping inside your body, that's going to create some extra toxic load that the body has to figure out what it has to do with. And if it's already burdened by too many toxins and it's not detoxing the way that it should, then it could be pushing some of that stuff out through the skin, requiring the body to use more sweat to get it out, or increasing the odor level that might come with that. And we hear a lot about, oh, you could have a bacterial infection like in your armpit kind of thing, just from the moisture. That kind of bacteria sets up camp and that can create odor. But we need to think that there can be organisms in other places inside the body that are also creating waste, and that waste has to go somewhere. So we also may need to think about, like, why can't the liver or the kidneys get rid of this waste the way that it should? And one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that the liver makes this stuff called bile, and then it stores it in the gallbladder, and then that comes down and helps us digest our food correctly, emulsify our fats, access fat-soluble vitamins, and neutralize the acids that are leaving the stomach. It does a lot of good stuff for us. But for a wide variety of reasons, for a lot of people, that bile will become too thick and sticky to flow correctly. And if it's not flowing correctly, this can be a problem because a lot of the toxins that the liver filters out of the body, it puts into that bile. So that when that bile goes down the intestinal tract, it's carrying those toxins with it so that when we poop like a champion, they all go out the back door. That's the body's main detox pathway. So if somebody's bile has become too thick and sticky to flow correctly, then those toxins aren't going out and they all get reassimilated into the system and the liver's got to filter them all out again. So the liver can get overwhelmed and then it doesn't have the ability to do all of its jobs and filter out all that junk. Maybe it's asking the kidneys to help out and the kidneys are getting overwhelmed because they're trying to remove this waste, the type of waste that it really should not be removing. So we hear from a lot of people that improve issues like skin issues like acne or rash type problems and odor when they improve their bile flow so that the body can detox the way that it's supposed to detox. So that doesn't mean that poor bile flow and an inability to detox correctly is the cause of your excessive sweating or excessive body odor, but we certainly need to look at that as a possibility. So if someone has said you don't have a glandular issue and you don't appear to be stuck in this sympathetic fight or flight state, then why not look to see, are there possible bile flow issues or maybe some type of bacterial overgrowth that's creating all this waste or something that's creating a lot of toxins in the system so that the body is trying to push that out through the skin. So what you could do right now is you could jump over and check out our video on 10 signs of poor bile flow and see, do I have a lot of these signs showing up? If I do, then maybe taking steps to thin that bile so that it'll flow better could improve the situation for me. I can't wait to hear about your results.